Hello everyone, Dream Envoy here, and we'll get back to more of Let's Play The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. Last time, we completed the bottom of the well as a child. In doing so, we obtained the Lens of Truth. An item that will make, well, it's not required for the, Shadow Temple, but it will make the Shadow Temple a lot easier. Anyways, it's gonna always be running here in this part of the, graveyard. It's actually a best idea to go ahead and bring out the items that are going to be immediately necessary. Believe it or not, Din's Fire is going to be necessary, at least in order to enter the dungeon. Another thing we should probably bring out is our Eye of Truth. Now you actually do need Din's Fire in order to access this, because your goal is to light up all these torches. Don't even bother with the fire arrows or using one net fire arrow and then the Deku Stick. It won't work. Well, I never really tried it, but I can't imagine considering just how many torches are in this room, it's not gonna work. So, let's just go ahead and use Din's Fire. If you don't know how to get Din's Fire, see, there's already kind of a fire symbol down there to indicate that you need to do it. If you don't have Din's Fire, return to being a child and go to Hyrule Castle. Near the end, bomb the boulder, and you'll find a fairy fountain in which you can obtain Din's Fire from. Anyways, our first obstacle is getting up this ledge here, and you see, there's a wall there. However, the Lens of Truth shows that you can travel it. The shadow will yield only to one with the Eye of Truth, handed down in Kakariko Village. Well, you don't need the Eye of Truth, But anyways, here we are, in the first main room. This is actually a pretty linear dungeon that doesn't have a really defined main room of sorts. It's more or less straightforward. First things first, we actually want to travel to this room, because if you look over here, you're gonna see a tongue towards the distance. Don't bother doing a rolling jump because you will not be able to reach it. Only those with sacred feet can cross the Valley of the Dead. Well, you'll find there's another invisible wall here. So let's go ahead, walk on through. You might as well just keep the Lens of Truth on. One who gains the Eye of Truth will be able to see what is hidden in the darkness. Anyways, Shadow Temple. Here is gathered Hyrule's bloody history of greed and hatred. Anyways, through here is a hidden door. And in here is also a redead. You no longer need Din's Fire, at least not for a while. Just spell out your ocarina, play the song. No wait, that's the Song of Storms, hold on. Your goal is to just defeat these redeads. There's also some keys to take care of. One is flapping around somewhere. And it's trying to chase Link, oh my god. Anyways, defeat all the enemies here, get the door to open. And there's a chest. There we go, we're barely just started in the dungeon and we already obtained the dungeon map. And I'll even demonstrate right through the dungeon map itself that, yeah, it's pretty much a linear dungeon with not really that many main rooms. I mean, okay, maybe there is kind of a main room over there in like the northern half of the basement and the fourth basement and the third basement. But aside from that, it's not really... It's more or less pretty linear. Well, okay, there's more to it than the upper middle room. I guess the bottom room is kind of big, but I don't know, it's more or less just a linear dungeon. Which is why, yeah, I don't really care much for the Shadow Temple. I mean, it's similar in that it's kind of similar to older Zelda titles, where even the, where the dungeons of those games are actually kind of linear as well. I've actually just recently played through the original Legend of Zelda, and I'm also playing through Link to the Past, so I guess it's kind of like a homage to earlier Zelda titles in that regard. What is it in the darkness? Tricks full of ill will. You can't see the way forward. Yes, I can. Anyways, second part of the maze here. Shadow Temple. Yeah, we know. But yeah, as I was saying, this dungeon is kind of linear, which is what with no like central room. It's very different than, in that regard, it's very different from the, from most of the previous dungeons, save for maybe the Fire Temple. Because of that, I don't really care for this dungeon as much as the others, because in the other dungeons you kind of get a sense of... I don't know, I just really like how you go through various rooms to try to change the effects of the main room, like how in the Water Temple, for the temple that we just completed, it's the matter of just changing the water levels to get to different parts of the dungeon that is all accessed by the main room. Same is kind of the same for the Forest Temple. Anyways, after all that rambling, you'll see that we're actually inside another Dead Hand room. Go ahead, get ourselves out by mashing A, well, or A and B. And we'll find that Dead Hand is a lot easier since we have the Master Sword, which does a lot more damage. Come on, mash out of there. And by the way, I'm gonna show you a trick. You can actually see where Dead Hand is. You can actually kind of see his shadow off in the distance, so you know exactly where he's gonna pop up. Making this this battle even easier. And if you have the Begoran sword, this battle is pretty much a joke. Okay, he's gonna appear there, so go for the opposite hand. Lure him out. Okay, I did take a hit. And man, his twitching body is so creepy. But also kind of cool. Anyways, head over to this chest and... And already, we've only just started the dungeon, and we've already obtained the dungeon item, the hover boots. With this mysterious boots, you can hover above the ground. The downside, no traction. You can even use these to walk for short periods where there is no solid ground. Be brave and trust in your boots. Yep. Basically, that's the whole gimmick. You're gonna be using the hover boots to travel over what is pretty much just... Yeah, blah blah blah. You're just rambling on and on and on. Also, I guess you can just try to search for skulls that eyes are glowing, and that's a good indicator of where to go. Anyways, Travel out here. And you'll see this bird statue over here. Make my beak face the school of truth. The alternative is descent into the deep darkness. Well, you'll see that there's a whole bunch of skulls around the place. If you use the lens of truth, you'll find that all the skulls are fake. Save for this one. You want to push it so that the beak is facing that true skull. Alright, I believe this is the true skull. Yep, it is. You do that, and it opens the gate. Of which, we're just gonna go ahead, put on our hover boots. Yep, I told you that this was gonna be kind of like the water temple where you have to complete one dungeon in order to reach the other. Anyways, if you run and roll, you should just barely reach the tongue. Switch back to the Kokiri boots and continue onward. In which case, believe it or not, even though that we're only a few minutes in, I think I'm just gonna end it here. Yep, I think that obtaining the hover boots is, at least the dungeon item, is a good place to stop. So, yeah, I think I'll end it here. Next time on Let's Play the Legend of... Next time on Let's Play the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, we're just gonna continue on to through the Shadow Temple, one of my least favorite temples in the game. I like the aesthetic. I really like the aesthetic. It's just, I don't know. I find this dungeon, aside from aesthetics, I find this dungeon just not as interesting as most of the other ones. But oh well. See you guys next time.